It really is not there. You have to pray over it. And the Lord spoke to me. And in Nigeria, there was a man whose head exploded, and they prayed over him, and he came back to life. And in South Korea, there was a lady whose foot blew up, and they prayed over her, and her head fell off, and then she walked around in a red dress. What are you talking about?
All right, very good. Moving right into the next caller. Caller, you're live on the air. Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
David Resnick from Oak Park.
Welcome,
Oak Park, Michigan, sorry.
Sure.
Well, my question is the interpretation of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Someone told me that Jesus fulfilled Mashiach ben Yosef. Can the rabbi help explain whether this is true or not? He used verses from Psalms also, and I think Daniel about being rejected and he has to die and come back, and I just don't know much about it. So I'm just... Well,
sweetheart, listen to me. Maybe I keep you for a second, my Oak Park friend. Listen. Like, I just want to share with you, like, how I think you should go about examining this for yourself. Because, like, is it going to be because you like Tovia singer and I'm going to persuade you not to listen to him, listen to me? That's not really a good way. I'd rather empower you, and I would encourage you to say, you know what is this Mashiach ben Yosef? Like, what is this, right? And say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to look it up for myself. Really. I mean, doesn't that make sense to use the primary sources rather than, secondary sources, or get your information from Rabbi Google? That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Look, I want you, my viewer, to not need me. And every rabbi feels the same way. We really want the people who are listening to us to not be persuaded by any pithy saying, but by going, let me go back to the sources, right? Does that make sense to you? Okay, good. All right, thank you for your question. And, and this thing about, we can just go back to the Hebrew Bible and just look for stories, and there's a veiled reference to Jesus. Well, wait, that's not the deal. Why are Christians doing that? Why are Christians engaging in what's called typology? Which means Joseph was like a type of a Christ. Like, why? Because what they tell you at the outset, what was advertised in the newspaper, they can't deliver on, right? You open the newspaper and you're looking at the advertisement, right? And there's something on sale. We've all seen this, right? Well, we expect to walk into the store and that thing really is for sale, or go online and order it, and then it actually shows up at your door, and it's what was advertised, okay? I mean, this is not complicated. All right, so what is being advertised by the church is the following, and if I'm wrong, then do not listen to me. Then never watch this show again. The sales pitch is the following. There are hundreds of prophecies in the Hebrew Bible that clearly point to Jesus. There are 365 prophecies in the Old Testament that all speak of nobody else but Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. Okay? Now, if that's not what's advertised, just shut me off now. Because then I'm a liar. Then I'm mischaracterizing. I'm strawmanning this, but I'm not. I'm steelmanning this, okay? So what you're told, the advertisement is, this is why you should believe in this. The evidence is very clear, it's very plain, and it's very numerous, it's plentiful. Hundreds, that's a lot. Hundreds of proofs in the Old Testament. Remember, the Hebrew Bible was completed 500 years before the advent of Christianity, right? Malachi was during the Persian Empire, right? He died during the Persian Empire, or he lived during the Persian Empire, and the Christianity began under the Roman Empire. It's 500 years apart, right? How could Hosea possibly know about Jesus? Hosea lived even before Malachi. Hosea lived 250 years before Malachi. He lived during the Assyrian Empire. Assyrian Empire, okay? Now listen, my friends. If this is a straw man, really, just, you know how to shut this show off, just shut it off. Because that means I'm a liar, and Christians accuse me of that because they have to. But if what I'm saying resonates, going, well, actually, he's right. That's what was told to me. Now, there are none. Here's the math. 365 times 0, this is the arithmetic, equals 0. It's 365 of nothings. It's nothing. So if you can't deliver on the advertisement, what do you have to do? You have to then appeal to things that are just not in the newspaper, not advertised. So what we're going to do is we're going to find any story in the Hebrew Bible where somebody was betrayed by somebody else, and we're going to go, that's Christ. No, that was not what was in the paper. That's the game. That's a bait and switch. That's the shuffle. That's three-card Monte. That's David Blaine. That's exactly what I didn't expect you to do. I mean, Joseph Smith was killed because of his religious beliefs. He didn't really believe it. I don't know. The point is, people died for their religious beliefs throughout history, were rejected throughout history. There are many people who didn't believe in all the founders of all religions. That doesn't mean therefore, there's no therefore, and that's not what you advertise. So I grant it. The best argument for Christianity is to scour the Hebrew Bible, looking for any story where someone was betrayed by fellow Jews. And there are loads of stories like that. And they go, well, Jesus was rejected by fellow Jews, so therefore everyone every person who claimed to be the Messiah, and there were hundreds of them, they all are the Messiah? No, that's not how it works. That's not what you told me. You see? And that's what happens. You go into the store to purchase what's in. You've done this. You go into the store. Here's the ad. I want to buy it. Well, that's not exactly. Right away, your red flags should be, you should be seeing red flags everywhere. It really is not there. You have to pray over it, and the Lord spoke to me. And in Nigeria, there was a man whose head exploded, and they prayed over him, and he came back to life. And in South Korea, there was a lady whose foot blew up, and they prayed over her, and her head fell off, and then she walked around in a red dress. What are you talking about? And why is it always stories of someone, it changed my life, I was on drugs, I stopped doing. What is this? Is not what was advertised. All religions claim that their followers are willing to suffer and die for what they believed. All of them do. And why is it these stories of miraculous healings always happening somewhere else? If someone wants to lie, make sure your witnesses are very far away. Sure, there were 500 people. Paul's writing this to Corinth, far away. In the ancient world, it's not like today you get on a plane. People did not Paul did travel a lot. If we take half of his claim, he traveled a lot. But people generally didn't. People in the ancient world, born and died with a... You could say anything. You could, if you want to speak to people in Greece, you want to speak to someone in Spain about something that happened in Eretz Israel, very few people traveled. You could say anything you want to. Why is it happening here? Why not here? Why not happen to me? This is the whole thing. So you're brought into the store through an advertisement, right? And then when you want to buy it, you're told, well, actually, that's not what I have. I have something different. Are you interested? Okay, now, Messiah, the son of Joseph. This is we have that in one place in Tanakh. It's not, that language is not used in Tanakh. It comes from the Talmud. I mean, isn't that a little weird, odd? Isn't this a little promiscuous to say, on the one hand, we don't believe in the Talmud, we believe only in the Bible, and then quoting the Talmud? Doesn't that strike you as odd? I'm asking you a question. Wake up. Doesn't it strike you as odd that the very people who say we don't believe in Talmudic Judaism and curse the Talmud, quote the Talmud back and forth if it can help it, doesn't that sound weird to you? Doesn't that bother you? Doesn't that send up red flags all over the place? I mean, wake up. And if we're allowed to engage in this kind of promiscuous hermeneutics, then what religion could be dismissed? Okay? I apologize for, but guys, be smart. Wake up. You don't need me. You really don't. Really don't. You could just look it up itself. There is an end-time prophecy. At the end of days, the Jewish people return to the land of Israel. Okay? This is before Mashiach comes. The last segment of Jewish history, the Jews return to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? The nations of the world are not happy with that at all. And they go to war. They go to war with Yerushalayim. I beg you, look, either go back to your churches. If you don't want to study, what am I going to say to you? I'm quoting Tanakh. I assure you, if you open up Zechariah chapter 12, start with verse 1. Start with verse 1. You're not going to get this in church. What's going to happen? All the nations will come, and what will happen to these nations that come up against Yerushalayim? Jerusalem will be an Evan Ma'amosa, a heavy burdensome stone, l'chol ha'amim, will be a heavy, all the nations that come against Yerushalayim will be destroyed. Mamish. Did that happen in the first century? What are you talking about? In the first century, the Jews were destroyed, meaning the Second Commonwealth was destroyed. They were exiled. None of these things happened then. It's the motherlode of bad ideas when the Jews return back to their land. See Jeremiah 23. God is returning the Jews back to their land. This is before Mashiach comes, right before Mashiach comes. Jews are back. They're in Yerushalayim, and then nations go to war. And if you think this is small, I really encourage you, open up the news source of your choice. I don't know what they think about the Jews or whatever, but I guarantee you that's a major part of the headlines. I mean, someone sneezes in Jerusalem, it's headlines in the Wall Street Journal. It's the way it is. There could be in Honduras, there could be a mudslide, who knows, and it's on page 15. Here, one thing happens, it's like insanity. You know I'm not making this up. You know that. This is in the news. Verse 9, V'hoya b'yoyim hahu avakesh lahashmid es kol hagoyim haboim al Yerushalayim. I will destroy all the nations. Avakesh lahashmid es kol hagoyim haboim al Yerushalayim. I will destroy all the nations that go to war with Yerushalayim. That means Mashiach isn't here yet. You're in the Hischalta de Gula. It means you're in the birth pangs of the Messiah. It's open. This didn't happen in 2,000 years ago. The Romans crushed the Jews. Please, if you don't want a part of this, you want to stay in church, just click off, watch reruns of Lost in Space. You don't. If you like being a Christian, this is not for you. It's not. You find other things. It's not for you. I will destroy all the nations that go to war with Jerusalem. Oh, did I take that out of context? No. Okay. God is going to pour out a spirit on the house of David. That's the context. Vehebitu elai et asher dokaru, and they will look to me because really it says dokaru is plural because of those that are killed. So Jerusalem, God is standing with Jerusalem. Jerusalem, all the enemies of Jerusalem are destroyed. But there's a tremendous trauma, dakaru, that occurs to those who, to the Jewish people. And what happens is, in this state of mourning, this is Mashiach ben Yosef. Doesn't mean it's one person. It could be many people. Probably is, because dakaru. And they will turn to me because of the one who was killed, and mourn over him as one mourns over a firstborn son. And if you want an example of this in history, the Navi says that this will be like what happened in Hajimon in the valley of Megiddo, and that's Josiah, Yoshiyahu. It's so plain, it's so pashut. It's right there. And everyone, all the families, everyone's mourning. Everybody's mourning. Everyone's crying. And mourning triggers tshuva. That's all. That's what it is. So this is called Mashiach ben Yosef. This is in the Talmud. So ask your friends, do you believe in the Talmud? And this is what happens is, if verses like John 3:16 and 14 verse 6, John, were in the Hebrew Bible, you think they'd be appealing to the Talmud? Like, why? Don't you get it? I just want to understand how the scam works. Is they advertise it's in the Bible. When you finally show up to pick up your merchandise, we don't have it. But we have Joseph was rejected by his brother. Granted, that's the best proof of Christianity. That stories that have nothing to do with the Messiah, any of those things, let alone Joseph, we're going to just say that's Jesus. Why? It doesn't say it there. Oh, well, this is how this store works. Well, I don't buy from stores like that. It's called false advertising. And this is the Bureau for Better Business. I mean, if a store in New York did that, you could report that store false advertising. They'll take away their license to do business. I'm taking away the license from Rome. Go to the original sources. The original sources is the end of days. It's Mashiach's not here yet. There's a war. Mashiach comes, no war. Israel, the nation of Israel, is returned to the land of Israel. Jerusalem, nations don't like it. They go to war. In the midst of that tekufa, that epic, there is a tremendous trauma. In all likelihood, that's October 7th was that trauma, which caused a unification in the nation, a great mourning. And then just continue. That's all. It's very simple. If it's the Talmud, then the Talmud is the Word of God. If the Talmud is not the Word of God, why are you using the Talmud? It's a bait and switch deal. And then any religion can do that, right? Any religion could do that, right? Thank you so much for your thoughtful question. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא